Peace, everybody. My name is True, and welcome to Mindset of a Sage. This is a platform that I've been encouraged, to do something that I wanted to do, and give you a little feedback, just a little insight into what you're going to see. So, first off, about a week ago, unfortunately, I was in a bad car accident where a drunk driver hit me and flipped my car, in Atlanta, Georgia, you know. So I was fortunate enough to survive that. The car flipped 3 times. They tell me I was unconscious. A couple of broke ribs, you know what I'm saying? Bruises, got a concussion, you know what I'm saying? And just like pain all over, shoulders and everything, like shit just crazy. So as I was laying in the bed, recovering this week, just resting, I was thinking about how life is short and how, you gotta really get after it. But after I was thinking, it was like, life ain't really short. Like, why I think life is short is because I didn't do the things that I wanted to do. I didn't get a lot of things accomplished and done that I wanted to do. And as I started to think about it from that perspective, it's like, oh yeah, life is short. Because I'm not a young man, so I definitely have my time, on earth to live and make a way, you know what I'm saying, and achieve and accomplish. So it wasn't from a lack of time necessarily, you know what I'm saying? So it's other things going on is the reason why. And so as I'm laying there, I'm like, okay, well, one of those reasons is you're not getting up and getting after it properly. Now, what I do primarily is I'm a boxing coach, but not just like a boxing coach. I'm a real high level coach. I have my son, this is my middle boy here, and my youngest boy. They're on their way. Like these kids is high level. The oldest is already ready to turn pro. We're gonna fight him, at the end of the year for one last national, and then we'll be looking to turn him pro. He's ready. And my younger boy is coming right behind him. He ain't for 17. And he only been training, you can check all this out on my other channel because I got it. That's called the True Light Fight Club. And you could just see everything about boxing. It's not boxing, it's not what I'm talking about here. But I just wanted to give that introduction to the people who don't know. So what kind of gives me the perspective I had? I was fortunate enough to be raised by a teacher, and I was cultured. I'm well read. I studied a lot of things. I've been a lot of places, wore a lot of hats. My mentors are all well accomplished. So everything that I haven't done, hasn't been from not having the information in it. It's just been from like an application thing, implementation, accountability, etc. So that brings me here. What's going to happen here is this is the first one, and I told you for everything that's happening, what I'm telling you, that's why, I'm kind of like here right now. So it's like, don't wait. We're just going to get in motion. So it's going to get better as we go. The scene is going to change. Like, I'm not going to always be here. It's going to be different, backgrounds until we get something figured out, you know what I'm saying? But for now, we just in motion, and that's what we're doing. So this is what motion, kind of looks like. So that's what's going on, and I'm very happy to be here. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate everybody for tuning in, and we're going to get into some time in general, not so much today, but just like throughout the show. It's going to be a wide range of things that we discuss in a real way. We're going to get where we all want to get, and it's going to be a process of elimination, because we're going to eliminate a lot of the baggage. We're going to eliminate a lot of the excuses and a lot of the things that's kind of kept us from doing things. And I'm definitely talking to myself, so I don't want you guys, it's not that type of platform, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not talking at y'all we talk about an evolution. You're going to see my growth. You're going to see me transform. You'll get a chance to watch the things that I do personally as a man and how things evolve, as well as how I evolve with my unit, how I bring along my boys, and we all transition into pro-life and start to really get into that. So that being said, we're going to get into today's thing, because I know everybody got things to do, stuff like that. So while we're here right now, we're talking about accountability today. And accountability is a very profound word. It's a standalone word, you know what I'm saying? And it's a word that gets taken for granted, right? So as people and as men, women, we want to be held accountable, essentially, where what we do and what we say, holds weight. Now, the thing about it is we definitely hold other people accountable, right? So a person will definitely tell you, well, you said this, or you said you was going to do that, or about, that thing. So you definitely get held accountable, but, holding ourselves accountable and things like that is a little different. So why I bring that up? Because part of this accident that I had and different things, and I'm going to share a lot of stuff with y'all, from that, I met a woman a while ago, right? And this was one of the most complete women I've ever met in my life, far as the physical, the spiritual, the mental, the physical, you know what I'm saying? And I talked to this woman for a while, and I remember I told this one, I said, listen, man, one of my main things, like, I want to be held accountable. And she said, yeah, like, I'm with that, and I can do that. So we that was one of the pillars of the foundation of our relationship. And she's definitely held up her end of the bargain, you know what I'm saying? She's definitely held me accountable with a lot of things. So where would the problem come in, right? The problem is, in order to be accountable, right, and sustain it, you have to be self-accountable. So although in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I want to be held accountable, right, by her or someone, right, my children, whatever the case, right? Niggas is holding me accountable. And forgive me for saying niggas a lot, you know what I mean, because I probably will, and I know better, I was raised better, definitely know other words, but, you're going to hear it here and there. But I'm going to clean that up, especially for my older people that's maybe watching, because I know y'all ain't into that, a lot of y'all, so just bear with me on that as we go along. I'm going to clean all that up, stuff like that. But it's the part of, the culture. So anyway, getting back to this. So that was the error, right? Telling her or having a person hold me accountable. See, where we dropped the ball essentially, right? And is because if someone has to hold me accountable or hold you accountable, then I'm completely dependent upon this person or this thing for my accountability for the most part, right? Meaning, if this person doesn't do this for me, or if this person doesn't be like on my case or whatever it is that they do to help you be accountable, then you're not going to be accountable, right? So this makes me completely dependent and puts me in a wild situation of lack. And so this would explain why when you're not in that person's presence or you're not in communication with them, how you drift. See? You drift. Because that person is not there, that thing's not there to hold you accountable that way. It's the same way how we be acting a certain way, then we see somebody we don't want to know we move that way, you know what I'm saying? And they tighten up real quick. Then you're like, well, nah, don't do that now. Like, finish partying, like, whatever you was doing. You see what I'm saying? So it's like that same kind of thing. Like, so it's like, okay, in this space, I'm going to be accountable, right? She's holding me accountable. The situation is holding me accountable. But once I drift, right, once I, get on my own, now it's about me being able to hold myself accountable. And that's where the integrity and that's where the commitment to yourself and everything comes into play. And this is where lies come in, right? So check it out. We definitely are fully aware of like what lying looks like to another person, right? So person say, "Hey, you a liar, man." And trust me, I know I've been a liar. I've told wild lies, you know. And the thing about lying is it's a choice. See, this is the part that I, tapped into in my self-reflection. Like, nobody make you lie. Your perception of the situation made you lie. This is why one of the Stoics, I believe it was Seneca, or maybe Marcus Aurelius, but I believe Seneca, he said that one of the greatest contributions to a person's life is the quality of their thoughts. You see, a person that I used to, really keep close and value a lot used to tell me that something similar to that, like, you're only sick as your thoughts. We sick as our thoughts, and that's a real thing because your thoughts kind of determine the momentum that you're going to pick up, right? So the more you think about something, so that's how that goes. So when we fast forward back, rewind back to my point now, we're talking about lying. So the greatest lies told, essentially, right, is the lies we tell ourselves. I may not have lying to you may not have the same weight, but then I'm lying to myself as well. So it's like, it's like out of control when it comes to those type of lies, right? So now your whole world becomes a lie. You don't even know which one is real yourself, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know some of us have been in that situation, you know what I'm saying? You're like, man, like, fuck that, when did I tell you that? Like, in your head, right? Crazy. So now let's say now you ain't even lying. Now we got them people out the way. Now this is for everybody else, right? So niggas that's saying like, yo, well, I don't do all that lying. I keep it real, essentially, right? I'm gonna tell the person, okay, fine. So for these people, it's the lies definitely that they tell themselves. So how we lie to ourselves, and this is why it's a detriment, is because do you really think that the reason why you're not working out is because you don't have the time? Right? Do you think the reason why you're not starting that business, you're not writing that book, you're not creating whatever platform that you wanted to create, you think that's really because you don't have the time or the money? People buy homes with no money. They got all kind of ads right now, real estate, show you how to get a house with no money. See? So do you really think that why you're not doing the things that you keep telling yourself and the things you promised yourself, you think that's not being accomplished because you don't have the time or the money, right? Or the support, right? A person I used to be with, I used to always say that too. They used to say, yo, I could have done a lot if I had the support. If I had somebody, to believe in me, I could have done a lot. Well, of course. A lot of us could have done a lot if we had somebody to support us and families that had this and that and people, cheering you on and driving you to these places, getting you into these different programs. But that's not the reason why you didn't do it. That's the reason why it was harder for you to do it, though. Right? We're not going to act like that shit don't matter. That's definitely the reason why it was harder. But that ain't the reason why you didn't do it. Right? The reason you didn't do it is because you gave up. Right? You quit. The reason why you haven't started the business right now is because you don't have the desire to really do so. You don't have the courage to really do so. Why are you not working out? Because you really don't want to work out. That's all it is. Like, please, fellas, ladies, don't think that you're not walking around the corner or you're not dropping down, doing some push-ups, getting it going. It's no miracle workout. Like, it's not like this great routine. You just got to get going. So don't, that's not reason why. You just don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? And that's the truth about it. One of my mentors, right, Earl Nightingale, he says that every person, man or woman, right, is exactly where they want to be, whether they want to admit that or not. And I'm like, damn, what if I don't want to be here at all? Like, this ain't where I want to be. What are you talking about? Like, this ain't where I want to drive and stuff. Like, I don't really want to live around here. So, from Earl's perspective, if you don't, then you will be doing everything you need to do to get out of there. Now it all makes sense. Now it all makes sense. So it's not a word thing, it's an action thing, it's a movement thing. We gotta get going, So that's why we got the lies and then we got the accountability. So once you start lying to yourself, you create all kind of fake issues in your head, in your mind, and you're not gonna get nothing done. You know what I'm saying? So self-accountability, right? Now, real quick, I want to tap in. There is a book written by a guy named Greg Bustin, I think, or maybe Bustin, Bustin, right? It's called The 7 Pillars of Accountability. You should check this out. But according to him, his 7 pillars is character, unity, learning, tracking, urgency, reputation, and evolution, right? And so when you think about that, there's a few of them that stand out to me, especially character, learning, tracking, urgency, right? And then evolution, right? And all of those is pretty much self-explanatory because there's a lot of different ways. Accountability is ambiguous, it's broad, You can be accountable financially, but not emotionally. You check out all the time. Wife got needs, kids got needs, right? All kind of emotional stuff. You're unavailable, right? But you pay the bills, or the wife, you're cooking for the house, you're making sure niggas eating, and clothes and everything, maybe even working too, but emotionally, you're unavailable. You're checking out. You got a life. You got other stuff you gotta do. So these things is all a part of being accountable. So it's not just being accountable financially and stuff like that, or emotionally. It's many aspects to it, and you're trying to cover all these aspects. Just so you have a full life and a well-rounded life, and you get a synergistic environment where you got moving parts all going in the same direction. The problem with most units, especially households, unfortunately, is everybody really kind of going in different directions. It's like different goals, different types of agendas where they don't meet in the middle. So if the synergy ain't there, like you think, it's like, yeah, everybody's doing something, but none of us are doing anything, right? We all doing something, but none of us are doing anything. Very unique dynamic when you think about it. And think about how your life and your household would be different if you had every part of it moving in the same direction. And that comes from leadership, right? So if you're the head of your household, you have to be what? Self-accountable, right? It can't be the right. Self-accountability comes in. You got to be accountable for these things. You got to account for it yourself. It can't be a need. See, as long as somebody has to hold you accountable, you in need, you in lack and awakening here, right? And I'm going to tell you about some keys to being self-accountable here, right? So it's taking ownership, right? Now, we already know what ownership is, but this is just recognizing your own choices, not just the external factors of it that contributed to the results, right? So not just because of your parents or where you grew up, just your choices now here. See? That's what led you here. Remember that. Choices and effort, they play a big role in our lives, man. Your choices and how much effort you put into all that shit. Right? It's a big reason why you're right where you are right now. Believe me, all of us. So next thing is honesty. And this is a real part. And again, that's why I'm telling you it's not about people. Like just like the lies. Like you want to lie to people all day, that's your business. You get to lying to yourself. Like now you done started believing this bullshit that you're telling everybody. You're in worse trouble now. See what I'm saying? You really, and it's the same thing with the honesty. You gotta be honest with yourself at least, even if you're not, being honest with everybody else. You gotta be able to be honest and truthful with yourself about whatever it is you did, so that you can really understand not even understand, but really comprehend, right? Because we don't want to stand under anything. We don't want to, comprehension, right? You need to comprehend what led you to that, what emotion led it, right? Because another thing, we think about feelings, right? But feelings, this is feeling, right? This is me feeling, right? Right? That's like a feeling. But my emotions is what's driving me, right? And you need to try to recognize the emotion you're having when you're in motion so that you can know. So this is anger. This is lust. This is greed, right? And you need to take time to breathe to do that, But anyway, you got to be really honest about that so you can know what it is that's really driving you. Even for us to say, yo, you ever hear somebody say, yo, everything I do is for my family, right? Niggas say everything I do is for my family. Why have you know, all the time the family don't agree with that. That matters. You see what I'm saying? You see how they correlate like that, right? So honesty, man. You got to be honest with yourself, man. The hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? Is it aligned with what I want to do? Because we so needy now. This is why self-accountability is so important. We done got so needy that most people is just seeking bonding. They're trying to bond with people, whether it's a trauma bond or whatever the case. They just want to bond, want to be around, But you got to be seeking alignment. You got to be seeking allies. You need people that have a common goal. We need to all be going in the same direction here. And if not, then you got to remove them. Let me tell you something. There's no need for a person who is moving this way and everything is like, like this positively. And you're trying to bring a person who has no, whatever positive going on, it's a lot of negative too. And you're trying to like mix the two. This is how you have problems. You're trying to mix the two. They don't mix right now. You have to leave that person. Allow them to figure whatever out, and then hopefully you can, or not. You see what I'm saying about that kind of stuff? So you can't mix it. And you got to be really honest with yourself in order to do that. And so after that, the other part of, another key to self-accountability is not blaming. Very important. No one's fault. There is no blame. And this is something I'm really, really been working on, tapping into. And so at this point, right, I'm like, yo, I'm forgiving shit that didn't even happen yet. Like that's where I'm setting up my mind frame and my spirituality. Like, yo, because I can't carry none of it with me. The ill will, the animosity, right? Can't even allow the seeds to plant on me like that. So I gotta release it before it even happens. I'll tell you a good tale about that before I move on. We're gonna wrap this up too, because I know I've been long-winded. Those of y'all that know me, y'all know the story already, right? So, two monks, they walking. They see a lady on the road. She need help. Monks ain't really supposed to touch people like that, though. So one of the monks pick her up, kind of get her out of harm's way or get her, wherever she needed to be moved to, right? Put her down. The two monks, they continue to walk. So as some time goes, the monk who did not pick up the lady, he asked the one that did, he said, hey man, why did you pick that girl up? So we're not supposed to do that. Like, why did you pick that girl up? So the monk who picked the girl up, he says, well, I put her down a while ago. Why are you still carrying her? You see? So once stuff happens, it happens, man. You have to be able to process that stuff, take what you need to take from it, and then leave it. Where? Behind. Shit already happened. If you bring it with you, then you bringing it with you. Leave shit where it is. But don't be bullied into moving on. And remember, when people trying to run game and trying to remember these. So this is what I know from like manipulating, being manipulated, hearing it. Manipulators is always looking to move on. Always. They always want to not discuss shit, right? And let's just leave it. Let's just leave it. So for me at this point, you know, I don't leave nothing that I don't understand until I'm ready. And I won't leave it no time sooner. And that's that. And if I don't get that, you're out. See? That's it. No ambiguity. Learning from mistakes. This is another aspect, which is, we kind of covered all of that. Internal drive. Very, very important. Why is it internal drive important? Because you have to motivate and almost police yourself. You see? And I'm careful. I'm moving a little bit now because I got to wrap it up. My ribs is hurting. Been sitting here, wow, y'all been in a lot of pain, but I want to get this out just to get going. So, again, it's my first one, so y'all bear with me. But yeah, internal drive, super important, because now this is me doing it without nobody saying nothing, without somebody watching me, without the expectation of a high five or great job, Dale, you really suck. You know, because you got to remember, all of that counts. You know, we like our ego stroke. You know, niggas like to get, you know, I'm not saying everybody, you know, you got to go crazy, but, you know, nigga be looking for recognition. I don't think people don't like to get some type of credit. You know, so this is when you have to do these things without that credit. You only your own credit. You know you did it. That's it. Nobody's here. You have to be able to have that drive for that. See? You got to have that internal drive, because if you don't, you're not going to do things the way you do them when people are looking, or when you're being held accountable. So self-accountability, this is super important, because it's one of the first steps for us to grow into self-savior degree, I self, Lord and Master, right? You got to, because you can't, remember this, guys, you can't lead a unit properly if you can't lead yourself, right? So, which is why the last one is focus on control, because without self-control, you're not going to have no control over these kind of situations unless you're using outright bully mentalities things, or you're using money as the controlling factor. Like, you know, if you don't do what I'm saying, I'm going to revoke all the funds, all your privileges, you know, and that'll get a nigga moving, you know, if they're thinking they want that money, you know, as will the cause or threat of bodily harm. So without those two tactics, you won't be able to control the unit, you know, so you have to be able to control yourself. So you're going to need that internal drive, and you're going to have self-control. Super, super important. So hope everybody, you know, stayed through and kind of bear with me on that. Like I said, my ribs is definitely hurting now, so it's time to wrap it up. And I'm gonna close with this thing here, another saying. So in life, we create circumstances and situations, right? We behave into them. Remember that. So you cannot talk your way out of situations that you behaved into. Again, remember this, very, very important. You cannot talk yourself out of situations that you behaved yourself into. You have to behave yourself out. which leads me to the last point. You have to change your mindset because you cannot create a new with the same mindset that got you in there in the first place. And this is why this channel and this platform is about for people that's trying to elevate and evolve, because it don't matter what you did yesterday. I'm telling you this. You've been lying, you've been cheating, you've been stealing, you ain't been acting right, man. You've been fucked up out here, bro. Like, you've been doing a lot of shit. You out of control. But you can stop right now. Niggas say, nah, it ain't that simple. No, it is that simple. No, it is that easy. I'm done with it. Sometimes you have to relocate, because maybe you done too much here. People say, you know what? We only know you as a liar, so it's just going to be hard for us to look at you any kind of way. Fine. You may have to relocate, or maybe not deal with them anymore. But that don't mean you just say, fuck, I'm going to just keep lying. Then this is all they know. No. I'm telling you, it don't matter if you stole right out of your grandmother's purse last night. You can stop that shit today. You can get that money back to grandma if you want it. But you don't have to never steal from another person again. You don't have to never tell another lie. You don't never have to do anything like that again. And don't let no one take that from you, man. This is the beautiful thing about waking up. I don't care what you did, man. You get a chance to wake up, except for I gotta go. Hold on. One thing for sure, though. Not into pedophilia and stuff like that. That's where we gotta draw the line. Now, if you did something like that, and I'm not talking about on a statutory level, like an R. Kelly thing, or you didn't know how old the girl was and all that. I'm talking about flat out children, right? Adolescent niggas and shit, all on the elementary tip. You gotta go. So, if you're watching that, that's just how I feel. Sorry to tell you, man. You gotta go. Because, unfortunately, that's what you're into. And you're into what you're into. We'll have another talk about that somewhere down the line. But you'll always be into that, so you gotta go. Sorry to get off topic. But anyway, it's the end of the show, man. Appreciate everybody watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And bear with me. We're going to be doing this thing, man. Getting into the mindset of a sage. And of course, Coach True in living. Always, always, always me. Always us. Never them. You know what that means when I say that? Peace.